Hey, Mark here. I just want to give you a quick heads up about this episode of The Villainess. We had some technical difficulties while recording, and the conversation is a lot of fun. We love this film, The Villainess, and we totally recommend that you go watch it. It's on Hulu right now, but just know we had a few issues, so that the audio is not up to the normal MFF standards, movie films and flick standards, but just know that the conversation's a lot of fun. The audio isn't that bad. It's not terrible. It's just not up to our normal standards. But if anything, we just think you'll enjoy this episode about the Villainess, and just go watch it. We love the movie. It's really good. Go check it out. All right, enjoy the episode. Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who grew up trained as an assassin, and then got double-crossed, and then got trained as an assassin again. Twice assassined. It's Kiyon.
What up, what up, what up? That was me doing like martial arts moves, taking people out as you were introducing me.
So I was watching you in the Skype video here, and those moves you pulled off, I could see about 17 henchmen getting wiped out.
That's what I do, you know. I'm just get the job done quick and efficiently.
All right, so I just want to say when we're starting this off, when you and I were when we did our Blade 2 episode, that was about 2 hours long too. That was an epic episode. I love that one. You brought up this movie called The Villainess, and I had never heard of it. I looked it up. I was like, I need to watch this movie. But then, like James Gunn released his list of action movies you need to watch. I learned then this was included. Then I learned that in John Wick 3. They paid like homage to this film with the motorcycle scene. So this is an action film that is really admired amongst cinephiles who love action films. This isn't kind of mainstream yet, released in 2017, but people love this movie.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those movies that if you're a fan of action, it checks all those boxes off you look for when you watch an action movie. You know, you have the revenge, you got a little bit of that love story, you got the double crossing, you know, you got all these elements, and then just some badass action sequences that, hands down, to me, even with the newer stuff that's been coming out, is some of the best stunt work that I've seen in a film in a while. So it's definitely a must-see for everybody.
And I would agree, and I think that a big reason why was Jung Byung-gil, he was a former stuntman when he made this. So he made that movie like Action Boys in Korea, and I feel like so this movie only has a $5 million budget. And I think he called in every single favor that he had from the stuntman community, right? Because
definitely.
What he's able to do. So the opening action scene, actually, let's do this real quick. The Villainess, it's about a woman who when she's younger, you have Kim Ok-vin is playing the lead role, and there's two kids, Suki and then Chae-yeon-soo. They, like, when she's younger, her father's murdered. She goes under the tutelage of this man. He trains her to become a killer. They get married. He double crosses her. Then she goes to an elite shadow agency where she learns how to kill people and become an actor. And then she goes into the world to be like a splinter agent. She has a handler that she kind of falls in love with. But then her husband, who she thought was dead, comes back into the picture. And all hell breaks loose. How's that sound?
Pretty much. That was a perfect synopsis right there.
And before we even learn any of this, man, the first action scene, she kills 58 people.
Yes. And by far, probably the best use of a first-person perspective for an action scene that in my opinion, other movies have tried it with the Doom was the first movie I think that really like tried to bring that kind of first-person video game kind of feel to the cinema. But then you had Hardcore Harry that like took it to the next level and made the whole movie first person. But the thing that I think sets Villainous apart from those other movies, and not to say that Hardcore Harry was horrible, it just...
Hardcore Henry or Harry?
Was it Henry? Or
yeah, Henry.
Hardcore Henry?
Yeah, Harry's the prequel.
Oh, all right. So I feel like in that movie, it was just like too much like a video game and less like a movie.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, and it got oppressive. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah. It was a bit much, but I can appreciate what they did and what they were trying to do. But with Villainous, the way they paced the scenes where she's going from like floor to floor and she's taking out everybody definitely was a little reminiscent of the Raid, kind of
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole concept of like every floor or every kind of level is about it's just a free for all brawl. But it was done so well and stylized so well, and the fact that you can hear her like panting and breathing, you can hear the adrenaline in her as she's going through these rooms, and then when she gets to that final room with the gym and all those dudes, big dudes are in there, and they're just like, yeah, it's about to go down. She's
Yeah.
like, all right, bring it. It's like, bring it. What you got? And then she just takes everybody out. It's such a great scene. Such a great way to open a movie to kind of set the tone for you too. You know what you're about to get into.
I love the different groups she fights through too. So she first beats up the guys in members only jackets. That's the best way I can describe them. Then she takes out the lab coat guys with the face masks.
Yeah.
Then she fights kind of like she fights the scientists in the like white outfits. Then she fights the face mask crew, and then she moves into the MMA guys.
And then wait, wasn't there the that hallway scene, which was kind of like a spin on the Old Boy? I feel like scene
for sure.
where it was definitely an homage. You could definitely tell it was an homage to that scene from Old Boy because you had the suit guys coming from both directions, and she's just running through all of them dudes, and you see her go back and forth between. So it was definitely a dope representation of what you're going to get in this movie and what you can expect from that movie.
And I gotta tell you, when I first watched, so this first action scene was very disorienting to me. It really was. I didn't know if I liked it. I appreciated it, and you watch the movie, you enjoy it, you really appreciate the vibe that they're going for. But this movie gets better for me after doing the research and learning about the $5 million budget, or the equivalent, €5 million, $5 million budget based on what Korean won, but the exchange rate's still not that bad, so it's still a low budget film. And you get also when the more you watch it, the more in tune you are with the action. The more the shots make sense, because when you're first watching it, you get a bit of a willy-nilly vibe. But then
it's a little jarring.
Yeah.
It's a little jarring.
And then you watch it again, and it's not like that. You are able to follow the action. And I remember you and I talked about this prior to it, and I was kind of worried about that hallway fight where guys were backing off from her. They weren't attacking her. Very strategic movie-esque. But you watch it for a third time, and you kind of see why they're backing off. Now, obviously they do because it's a movie, but it just gets better the more you watch it. I really dig... And it's a 2-hour movie. But I guess on repeat, it just goes by so much quicker. And I got something really funny to tell you. The director, when he was asked why he cast Kim Ok-vin or Ok-vin Kim, he said something really random, and I want to see. He's like, I felt like her face had the aura fit for a villainess.
Oh, wow. Wow.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, you know what? But that makes sense because, like, when you watch her, right? There's moments where she has this just stone cold gaze, kind of like when she's about to do her thing, and I get it. Her face, like, she has that kind of very pointed chin, if that makes sense. And I don't know, because when you like think anime, kind of that's the thing that was popping in my head, like anime, kind of that facial structure, and then her like laser focus on just she's going to take everybody out. She's going to do this job, and she's going to do it damn well. So yeah, that's funny. It makes sense.
And one thing I like too is this movie is bookended, spoilers, with her having incredibly bloody smiles after murdering a ton of people. But also her performance too. I think there's melodrama in the middle of this movie, but she's able to sort of pull off the melodrama and then the blood smile with blood on the teeth. And I like that. And I'm kind of happy that they didn't try to make her like Arnold Schwarzenegger from Commando. They just made her a incredibly well-trained badass. And I dig that. I dig that they weren't going for bulk or brute. Does that make sense? Like they...
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. She was very much elegant, and kind of her style, even as brutal as it was still very kind of feminine, if that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, she had a very much a way of like just doing things where it's not like and not to down on Atomic Blonde. Atomic Blonde was to me a great action movie as well. Her vibe in Atomic Blonde was so much more aggressive, I feel like, in terms of the way she approached those fighting scenes. And which isn't necessarily bad either. You can see the difference in terms of just the stylization of those fight scenes compared to Villainess. In the Villainess, she's a lot more, her movement's a little bit more fluid.
Yeah.
Whereas in a Blonde,
that stairway fight, you feel Charlize Theron in that stairway fight. You feel it. Yeah.
Yes.
It's an interesting comparison because they're definitely two completely different styles. You have so in Atomic Blonde, it's still very John Wick-esque, I guess. Hand to hand. You know, she didn't use any sambo or anything because Wick does, but it's more just realistic, I guess, grounded. I like what you said though. This one, her movements, she's like a cheetah.
She's like a cat. Like she's like hunting prey basically, and it shows in the way she moves, especially when she's got the knives. You know, when she's using those knives, she's like a cat. Charlize Theron's character, and don't get me wrong, I love the Atomic Blonde. It's a great action movie as well, great stunt work as well. I'm all about. Speaking of which, I'm wearing my stunt shirt when I did some stunt work on the movie. Charlize Theron's character was like so brutal and just so vicious. When she kicked him off my mofo, you like felt that kick, like damn. Yeah. Like there were many moments in that movie when I was watching Atomic Blonde where you go, damn, you have those oh shit moments. And you get the same in this, but it was like, oh damn, how'd she do that? Damn, that was smooth. How she just slapped old boy in the mouth like that. Wow.
Giving people Joker smiles. I mean, she has 2 different rounds of training. She's been trained from her youth, and then she got trained by a shadow agency. So she's basically a double badass, which I really dig. And I guess another thing that I like about this film is this is one of the, I'm not going to say it's the first, but it's one of the kind of first headlined by a female. It's one of the first female-led action films that got a major release. And it was interesting how Kim Ok-bin was really worried about this. She didn't want to be the one to mess it up for future actresses to do this. And I thought it was pretty interesting too, because the director, in all of his interviews, they asked him, they said, hey, how hard was it to get funding for this female-led action film? And he said it wasn't that bad because the budget was $5 million. So it's not an excessive budget. So it's he probably could have made a larger budgeted film with a male star, but he was able to take $5 million and stretch it. I mean, in this film, we have the opening kill where she kills 58 people. Then if you look at the set builds, there's motorcycle chases, there's a bus chase, there's an entire training section with a lot of extras and actors. There's various sets. Now, the middle lags a bit because it starts telling a love story melodrama, but you got to understand this movie can't have 47 bus chases. You have to, every TV show that you watch, they do bottle episodes where they're in a room filming. So I think what they did with this budget is pretty excellent. And I kind of feel like the first person, the way they shot allowed them to make this movie because it was so fluid and quick. But I think that first person action scene in the beginning, they had to do that to keep the budget down. Because you can't have the Villainess killing 58 individual people over a 5-minute action scene. That would cost millions because the choreography, all that.
The CG, you know, especially. So, but the one thing too, and why why that scene, and I definitely think that opening scene, once you see it the second time, you have a better kind of understanding of what's going on. But the thing I think what got me so much about it was when she finally got to that last level, and then the guy grabs her and he like throws her up against the mirror, and then I love that camera pull back. When the camera pans back and then you see everything now in the third person, I guess you could say. You see her fighting everybody and just going through that whole room, and then she gets thrown out the window. She gets thrown out the window, right? Or she jumps out the window?
I think she jumps out of the window because she chokes a guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She chokes him and uses him as a friggin' bungee cord.
Yep.
And jumps out the friggin' like, come on, bro. Like, yes, that for me is why the first time I saw it, I remember seeing the previews. For those who don't know, I used to live in Korea and I watch a lot of Korean television and variety shows and what have you. So I remember I was watching a show and I saw the commercial for it, and I was like, oh, I got to see this. What is this? Man, and then that's when she used old boy's neck for a bungee cord. I was like, oh, yes, I'm there. Let's get it. Let's go.
That was a really kind of neat way to end that bonkers action scene. And I do love that all the henchmen, aside from the MMA guys, are dressed the same. So someone went out and ordered them the same jackets. It's like in Blade. All of Deacon Frost's henchmen have ski caps, sunglasses, and jackets, which is a very...
And then they have like biker goatees too.
Yeah, exactly. And then I love Batman. Joker got all of his crew leather jackets to match.
Yeah.
You're a supervillain, Kiyon. Would you get your staff matching henchman gear?
I mean, you have to, I think. Like, if you think about it, all the best supervillains, all their like henchmen, pretty much a representation of them, right? So you think of, look at, you remember Batman Beyond?
Yeah.
The Jokers, they were basically paying homage to the Joker by dressing up as a bunch of clowns. So you knew what you were getting when you were coming up against the Joker, right? So the Jokers, I should say. But yeah, hell yeah, I would have my guys like in some super dope fits, like really clean, like Balenciaga suits, and just like all martial arts experts and shit.
I would make sure all of them have bulletproof vests, helmets that you can see out of, not stormtrooper helmets.
Not like a bike helmet?
No, so I want a cool helmet. So have you seen Death Race with Jason Statham?
Yeah.
So put the remake, put that mask on him. Maybe just one level of henchmen. Give every 1 in 5 henchmen that so that you could run them forward. I'd have an Iron Man henchman that's just covered in iron and can run in and block. They'd still all get killed, but it'd be a much more interesting fight.
Or have your big henchmen. So you got all your little guys, wearing the helmets, the little regular helmets. And then when you get to the big boss henchman, he can wear like a Rick Moranis Spaceballs kind of sized mega helmet. Yes. To like indicate he's the next guy like that's gonna give you a lot of trouble. You know what I mean?
So I'm a villain. I'm in this movie. I'm the bad guy. I'm thinking about something, Kiyon. I would put my most powerful henchman first. Now, the reason I'm doing this, let's say you put your weaker henchman first. That's just gonna give the villainess a warm up. That's going to give the villainess.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, the villain. You're going to get the blood flowing. You're going to get your moves in. You're going to get your feels. You'll kind of get your punches right, your sword strikes right. You might be a little rusty coming into a fight against my 58 henchmen. So I'm going to put my big people. Well, no, I'm going to put my cannon fodder in the beginning because she shoots all those guys in the first round. So I'm going to let all my cannon fodder get shot. Then I'm going to have the big people. If she gets to me at the end, it's just exhausted. Does that make sense? I don't want the villainess getting her groove.
No, it makes sense. It's like when you put your big guy in the front, wear them down, you know what I mean? So then when they have to get to the 58 henchmen, by the time they get to you, they're going to just be worn the hell out.
And also, big henchmen are always very cocky most of the time, and that's why they lose. Instead of throwing the death throw, they taunt. If I put them first and say none of that, they're going to be bulldogish. Does that mean they're not going to be full like, oh, I'm the right-hand man. Like, you're first. That's really going to take their ego down, and they're going to want to prove a point.
True. Very true. You make a very good point. But I think, too, also that really boils down to the supervisor in charge. If that supervisor is no nonsense, he's going to make sure that his big henchmen don't go out there being cocky. We don't need no taunting. This is a Street Fighter too, okay? Go out there, bust some ass, and then report back.
Yeah, we need a good middleman. Because the main guy, you shouldn't bother the main guy with the villain until they're about 3 henchmen away.
Yeah. And wait, can I just say, can we really just talk about, too, the cinematography in this movie?
Oh, it's wonderful. Park Jung-hoon.
Yeah. Park Jung-hoon, excellent job. And even the editing as well, I thought was very well done. Ho Sun-mi did the editing. But some of those, like that scene where she's in the bathroom and she's about to take the boss man out, just that shot where you see her in the
that's a wonderful shot.
Oh, it's such a dope scene, such a dope shot. So like, oh, and also before I forget, the bike scene, that one shot where the camera like revolves around underneath the bikes as they're doing the road rash thing, and she's like taking the bikers out to the left and to the right, and you got the camera start off behind her, and then it like comes in close, tight, goes around underneath the bike, looks behind the bike, comes back around. And I'm like, what the hell? How the hell did they do that shot? That shit was amazing to me.
And I love they put 3 of those motorcycles. So I guess that's her next big action scene. So she gets brought in by this shadow agency, and her first mission after being trained is to go and take out this man in his mansion. Of course, she has a sword fight with him. She kills him. She should have killed him sooner, but his henchmen chase her, and so they have a motorcycle chase a la John Wick 3, which you've probably seen. So what they did was they put him on a rig, 3 of the bikes, and then they put just a little GoPro camera on a stick and would push it forward. So when you're watching the stuff with the sword fights in front, back, and all that, it's just a camera moving around on a stick. There's a lot more to it than that, obviously.
Yeah, I'm like, wait,
there's rigs. I mean, this is the most high-tech stick you can get. But they did this in a way to just shoot it really fast. And the director said that all of these action scenes were horrible to shoot. So I've worked on a lot of sets. You've worked on sets. Filming is not easy. And watching these fights, they come across really well, but the amount of angles and shots and blood and death and choreography must have been a nightmare. But he loved doing this because it just tested him. He loved how it tested him.
Wow. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. Because the last movie I did stunt work on, it was just, you know, when you're in there, you're there all day and you're doing like the same scene like 4 or 5 times. You have to reset like 4 or 5 times, and you have to put that same energy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Like, I got killed in my scenes like several times, so I had to scream at the top of my lungs several times. I had to do all this extra shit, so it can become very daunting. The fact that they were able to pull it off and keep that energy, like, it shows that they believed in what they were doing, and they knew that they had kind of something good on their hands. And real quick, the movie is The Assignment. Have you heard of that movie?
I have not. Oh, with Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes.
Is it good?
No. It's like, so The Assignment came out in 2016, right? The Assignment was an attempt to do what the Villainess did, and they just did it way, way better, because it's essentially kind of the same thing, but not so much. It's like Michelle Rodriguez's character starts out as a man who's this assassin, and then he gets like double crossed by his boss, who's a woman, who changes him into Michelle Rodriguez. It's just such a cringy scene when you watch that opening scene where she realizes that she's no longer a man, and it's just the way they go about it. It's just so cringy and so cheesy, and it seemed to me that the Villainess was like, that's a good concept, but we could do it way, 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 way better without having to gender bend or gender swap anybody, and just keep it simple. Like, take her, make her, you know, from I don't want to say a homely gal to like a supermodel gal, but like that's pretty much what they did. They took her, you know, zhuzhed her up a little bit, made her this like supermodel, high level, like 007 style agent, and kind of trained her throughout. So watching this movie, it really gave me a lot of those like, wow, this is what The Assignment could have been if they really would have like, you know, and not for nothing, they had like Sigourney Weaver in the movie and like some big names in The Assignment, and it just felt so flat. I appreciated the Villainess doing what they did and how they approached, you know, the story and the plot, and taking this character and giving her like multiple arcs throughout, just making her just the ultimate badass. It was really, really dope.
And so the director, he wanted to do 3 things. He wanted to create peerless, referenceless action. Now, we've talked about it, and there is some hardcore Harry, or Henry, the prequel. And then we have Old Boy and La Femme Nikita. There's definitely some La Femme Nikita in this. This was his big inspiration. He watched that movie when he was 10 that Luc Besson directed. He wanted to do that. And then he wanted to make action that's never boring, and then genderless, powerful action. And I think he succeeded on that. And he said that he wanted to make referenceless action. I don't know how much he succeeded on that, but I do think he took many elements of films and improved, and that's what films do anyway. But I think they were mainly, this movie works, and it will continue to build an audience because the director, the cinematographer, the casting, the editing, it was smart. They thought this movie through. Yes.
Exactly.
We are going to do you can tell that this movie was built around the action scenes. And then you can tell how they storyboarded it. And then the first person and the camera work was created to hide the budget. You can't, this movie, I don't think they ever used dolly track. I don't think they even have a dolly in some of these scenes. And that,
Yeah, no,
you know,
now that you say that, yes.
when you don't have, maybe they did during some of the training scenes or some of the domestic scenes, but that means you're not renting a dolly every day. That means you're not renting pipe every day. That means you're not renting a dolly grip every day. That way you're not leveling the dolly. So the reason this movie was able to get made is because they were hungry, they were young, they can stay up all night, and I think it's these stuntmen making a movie with other stuntmen, so they're hungry to make this succeed because they want to move forward. Then you have the actress who, she knows the pressure that's on her shoulders. And so I think the creativity of this movie came from just really budgeting well. I would love to, you know, a lot of these interviews, there is the kind of language gap, and they ask the same boring questions over and over, but I would just kind of love to hear the producers and the cinematographers just talking about pre-pro in this, because I think it'd be good to teach students on how to really plan out an action-heavy movie.
Yes, definitely. And not just that, I feel like also when you look at most movies that are done by stunt people, like Jackie Chan, you know, he's the godfather of utilizing stuntmen and putting stuntmen on such a pedestal, because they are the stuntmen and women make the movies. They are the reason why we go to see these movies a lot of the times, and they don't get enough of the credit that they deserve. And without those men and women doing all the crazy shit that we love, the movies wouldn't be half as good as they are. So when you take a person that's known for working in stunts and stunt work, and you're seeing this with Chad and a lot of these guys that are coming up making these movies now, they're getting a chance to sit in the director's chair and make action movies that, like, I like to call them like modern day 80s movies, like modern day 80s action movies. You know, you're getting all the drama and the excitement and the kind of the over the topness, but still somewhat grounded in our present time reality, you know, and it's just done so well. So that's just a big ups to the stuntmen and women and the stunt directors now who are coming to the forefront. And like I said, Jackie Chan is like the godfather of just really emphasizing what stunt work brings to a movie, you know. And those early kung fu action movies with like Jackie Chan and Cynthia Rothrock.
Rothrock, yeah.
She like doesn't get nearly as much respect or kind of notoriety as I feel like she should, because between her and Michelle Yeoh, they were the first two women that, as a kid, seeing them on film, like kicking ass and standing toe to toe with these men, I was just like, wow. And Cynthia Rothrock used to kill me with her, like her scorpion kick. She always would get in that headlock. Every movie, I would always wait to see her get in that headlock, and she's always like, and then she throws that kick, scorpion kick, bow, in the head. Get off me, sucker. Back up.
I love that all of her movies were something like Dangerous Intentions or one of those type of films. And also Michelle Yeoh, you know, she was in Joined Up for Tomorrow Never Dies with James Bond in the 90s. It's sad that it was so popular, but everyone was just kind of thinking, wow, an Asian Bond girl, but no one knew in the States how badass she was.
Exactly. Nobody knew. And as someone who grew up, you know, watching martial arts movies and like knowing who she was all this time, one of my favorite movies of Michelle Yeoh, there's a couple, I have a lot. And again, you can see a lot of homage to her as well in this movie. But one of my favorite movies was the one she did with Jet Li, Wing Chun, just showing how badass women fighters are and can be, and just setting that precedent and that tone throughout the whole movie and being able to stand toe to toe with all the men in the movie, which is really dope to me. And I love to see that, because I don't feel like we get to see that enough, in a sense where it's not overtly kind of exaggerated. And Villainess and Just Like Atomic Blonde, they get their asses kicked. It's not like they're just super invincible, you know. They're able to hold their own, but they still get their asses kicked a little bit, you know. They're not just super just blasting through everybody with no cuts or bruises. So I like seeing that element, and I like having those things kind of brought forth in the film. And 84% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Really good audience score. Now, what would you tell people? And also, one thing I like about this, and I know we're just two guys talking about this, with like female action heroes, but I like that he said genderless action. And I think that's more progressive than anything. It's not, hey, look at us. Does that make sense?
It is.
He just said, I wanted to make genderless action. And I think I like that progression. I think that's so much more progressive than saying, look at us. And
you know what it is? I'm not to cut you off, I'm sorry, but I get that because of the story. The story is so purely a revenge story, right? So it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. If you have that much like desire to get your revenge, it shouldn't matter, right?
Exactly.
So I get that, and I do appreciate that because it definitely, that scene again. And unfortunately, like you said, he wanted to make the referenceless, action, but you could see there were so many references to other movies, like the Kill Bill scene where, when she's under the bed and she watches the father get killed, and how that kind of sets her on that path to become this, villainess, so to say. It's hard to do that. You cannot not have references.
Action movies have always done that, dude. Like Buster Keaton in the 20s. People still, like Jackie Chan drew references from Buster Keaton. So, I mean, everybody draws from everyone else. And do you think that's, sorry, I just interrupted you. Do you think that's annoying when people go, oh, I've seen that action scene in this, I've seen that action scene in that? Because then you're thinking you could use that for almost every single movie ever made. It's not, these action scenes, some of them are new, some of them are iconic, but people draw inspiration from other things. And also, the best way to do action sometimes is the same way the other best movies know how to do it.
I get what you're saying. And I think as long as it's elevated, that's the key. As long as you can elevate it to another place that the other action movies haven't done, I don't have a problem with that. You know what I mean? I feel like you have to have a place to kind of draw from. So, like, if you look at the John Wick movies, the first to the second to the third movie, they elevate the action sequences each movie to such a degree to where, like, when you watch the first one, damn, there's some good-ass action scenes. And then you watch the second one, like, god dang, how did they even top the first one? And then you watch the third one. There were some moments. I had moments where I felt like some of the scenes were drawn out a little too long. But even with them being drawn out a little too long, they were still, like, done really well.
And the dog fight.
Yeah, you read my mind.
Yeah.
The dog scene where Halle Berry is like, she's getting the dog, stop, and she's just yelling these German words to the dogs, and they're just ripping through mofos. Like, it was such a dope elevation of what you expect to see from a typical, like, action scene.
And I was very happy to see the heavies from the Raid 1 and 2 battling Keanu Reeves. What a great fight scene. Before he even gets to Mark Dacascos, only the strong Dacascos.
Yes. Banana way, banana way, banana.
So one question for you is, since you and I are both familiar with Korean soaps, Korean melodrama, because we lived out there, we are familiar with their romantic comedies. There's definitely a different vibe in those films than there is, and it's a different culture, a different country, so there's different vibes than there are to our films. But in this one, it does lean heavy into a middle act of melodrama to save budget and to make you care and all of that. What would you say to American audiences watching this? You watch it and you're kind of thinking, what is this? Why, when did this movie happen? Like, how would you, I mean, it's cultural for sure.
Yeah.
But how would you explain this to audiences who are kind of torn on these scenes? How would you say, like, promote it, make it for people who are on the fence about it?
It reminds me of what the director of Parasite said when he gave his speech after winning the Oscars about don't discount movies that are subtitled because they have a lot to offer, right? So I kind of have that same sentiment. Like, go into it with an open mind and kind of acknowledging that culturally, it's not going to be the same thing that you're used to per se when you think of an action film, but at the same time it is, because an action film is an action film is an action film. As long as it covers those bases that you're looking for, good story, good plot, a little love, a little taste of melodrama. And I think the main difference is because they all do, even the Expendables, had some type of little dovey kind of melodramatic plot.
Mickey Rourke monologue.
Yeah, and they just 10, 20 minutes on it versus this movie spending more like 25, 30 minutes on it, per se. So I think if you can kind of get past that, and I think that's a big thing with Western action movies in general, we tend to not put too much emphasis on the romantic aspects of the film, even though there a lot of times there are, romantic aspects to action movies, but it's more or less used as a vehicle to continue to push the movie. Whereas this one, it's still the vehicle, but it's not the main vehicle because there's so many twists and turns. So I would say go into it with an open mind and knowing that, like, okay, culturally it's going to be a little different, but it serves its purpose. You know, that bit of melodrama serves its purpose and kind of reinforces her resolve even more so as she continues to find out more about what happened to her and what's going on, and, you know, her approach to getting her revenge. So go into it open and just ready to watch a fun movie, you know, that is heavily influenced by a lot of Western action, but also, you know, heavily influenced from a lot of Eastern action.
I mean, La Femme Nikita and Point of No Return, and
Point of No Return, yeah.
There is, I mean, she gets trained and then she meets a guy. So this one, the guy is part of her, you know, unit, whatever, but he still follows that beat. So just kind of look at it. He's paying homage to movies he loves, and that's it. So if you're on the fence, just kind of get it where they're coming at. I mean, the love story is nothing new
No, not at all.
Yeah, all right, cool. Hey, so how about this? Let's take a quick break, and we come back. We'll talk more. The Villainess. Welcome back to Movies, Films, and Flicks. And one thing that we haven't touched on enough, Kiyon, are the transitions in this movie. So this movie, it'll transition from, there's a scene where in her training, she's up against her main rival in this school in the shadow company. And so she's putting together her gun. And the camera kind of zooms in, and then it pans out, and it's her as a kid racing another man to put their guns together. So when she was a kid, she was trained to be an assassin, and the guy training her wanted her to murder this man. So when she's 10, 11, she can still put this gun together really quickly. And then when they pull back into it, then they transition again into her almost being done in her later years. So you're flashing forward, flashing back. But the transitions make it feel very organic. And now transitions have been used. They've been used since the beginning of time, but I really like the inventiveness of this. And I like how, just thinking about the budget and the cuts, how they're able to make it fluid once again. But you watch, there's also a scene where she gets on the back of a bus at the end. She's hanging on by an axe.
Oh, yeah.
That's a solid 45-second shot where there's a woman rigged onto a bus. But then it transitions, so she's swinging for about 15 seconds, and then she swings into the bus. But I really liked how they built towards that. They didn't cut. They showed her swinging, and then they showed the organic jump. So the transitions and the movements, there are some very jarring ones, but if you also watch, it's also they're really creative in how they transition between scenes and cuts.
Yeah, I think a lot of Western action movies this is the one thing that bugs me about Western action movies. There's a lot of jump cuts, and a lot of times they're like the shaky jump cuts, or it's like the shaky, like, this is to show you how intense it is, instead of just pull that camera back and just show me everything that's going on, bro. Like, I don't need to be tricked into, you know, seeing how aggressive this scene is, and that's something that they do really well. Again, shout out to the cinematographer and the editor. That just goes, again, it shows how much they kind of knew that they had something good on their hands, and they really wanted to come through. And of course, like you said, you know, with it being a woman-led movie, I'm pretty sure they felt a little bit more pressure to kind of make sure it was done very well. And they accomplished it, man. They accomplished it on every level. And I love, like you said, those smooth transitions really kind of just show you and kind of informs you of how good she is at what she does.
Absolutely. And let's look at the movies of the late 60s, 70s. You know, let's say Dr. No in 62. They throw 3-4 punches per strike. In Bullet in 68, they have very long shots of that car chase. Then you cut to Bruce Lee's action films, Fist of Fury. You are showing 5, 6, 7 moves at a time. 80s, you kind of still keep that up. It just depends on the budget, how quick your cuts are. But I do think there's a little bit of a shift, and movies have done this beforehand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but after not Bourne Identity, but the other Bourne that came out when Paul Greengrass stepped on to direct, I like the way he filmed the Krav Maga fights in the Bourne world because it's so urgent, but there's a lot of cutting on that. So I think that sort of became a fan favorite of what, like, Quantum Solace kind of started doing that. And then you had other movies doing it. Now, quick cuts existed beforehand. But the Bourne movies could prove that you could be critically successful and financially successful and cut like that. And you watch
Yeah.
Captain America Civil War, some of these fights, or Winter Soldier. The cuts are snap, 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 snap. So quick. But I think they're just doing that because they got to move on. They can't do the Raid-esque choreography. But I think those movies have learned that lesson. I mean, even the cuts on this are really quick, but that's also a budgetary constraint. But I think they made up for that with the transitions and the build-ups of these action scenes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I definitely get what you're saying. And I also want to say too, if we look at the, I guess you could say the evolution of action, like you said, I think the biggest jump too was, the late 90s, early 2000s when the martial art epics started coming into play. And you had a lot of the directors, Quentin, when he did Kill Bill, he pretty much shot that. That was like, Kill Bill, one of my favorite Tarantino movies. I guess primarily because being such a martial arts fan, a Shaw Brothers film guy, and just loving all those old school martial arts movies and seeing that he literally was like, I'm going to film this like they would have filmed it. You see all the action and you see all. Now, granted, going back and watching that scene where she's fighting where she's fighting all the henchmen, that scene doesn't hold up too well when you go back and watch it. At the time, was appreciative of the fact that he made it so you could see what was going on. He didn't resort to just the real quick, we're going to pull in to show the actors there for a second. Then when we pull out, you're going to see stunt doubles doing all the extra stuff and you won't be able to see the faces. And then we're going to pull in, you're going to see the faces for a hot second, and you're going to pull back. So then once you made that shift from epic kind of martial arts style, then we get into the Bourne, the shaky cam thing. And then everybody was doing kind of the shaky cam, like really rough, aggressive kind of guerrilla camera style shooting, So I think the natural progression as we see it continuing is getting back to that kind of full screen. Let's show everything let's just show the fight. Let's not bullshit it, sugarcoat it. Let's see the whole fight. And that's what I appreciate about John Wick. You see those fight scenes, you see the whole damn thing.
Daredevil.
Wait, which Daredevil?
The one cut on Netflix. The one cut.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's just that the problem with that is those fight scenes, they take up so much time because you're paying all those are all stuntmen that are getting beat up. And also, I know I'm talking, like, I guess I'm going to make a comparison here, and people are going to think I'm crazy, but you watch the later Bourne movies, Ultimatum, Supremacy. Those ones had shaky cams for a reason, because the way he fights is what Krav Maga, which you use everything in your area, and you want to kill with each strike. You're not trying to mess with this guy. When you fight somebody like this, you're trying to kill him. You're going to hurt them with whatever you can. So that works with a very shaky cam style, because that's the way the fights are. They're quick and brutal. And when you watch the Villainess, the way these fights move, they're quick and brutal. We talk, like, I don't think we've talked about this yet. She's not trying to mess with anybody. She is trying to slit your throat with her first strike every time.
Yeah.
And so I like that. And I think that's why you can use this camera style, because of the frenetic, the frenetic style of it. But I think a lot of people in action don't understand that. I think they need to understand their story to understand what kind of action they'll shoot.
Yes, definitely. I think you can't, see, that was my problem. I think it was the Jeremy Renner Bourne was the one where it was like really, really bad. You really couldn't see any of the action because it was too shaky. Like you said, I get what they were going for, but when you have a good understanding of the story and what the character's motivations are, then I feel that should dictate the way you shoot it and the style of the shots, right? So like you said, she's trying to get in, get out real quick, take you out, no bullshit. So it was, I felt like they pulled that off very well, and it was very clearly presented every time she was coming on screen. Like, this is what's about to go on. She's literally a spy assassin. She's trying to one shot, one kill you, and if she can't, she's gonna find a way to take you out.
How about that sledgehammer to the head smash in this movie?
Ooh. Yeah, that was brutal.
Her dad is killed. So her dad's killed, knocked on the ground. He's looking at his daughter from under the bed. And my wife, Megan, she called it. She saw a sledgehammer, and she went, that guy's going to get his head smashed. 0.3 seconds later, smush. I mean, just... Yes. It looked like a watermelon full of spaghetti was hit by... something. And that was such a brutal moment. But that's another thing I like about these Korean films, man. They go there.
They will.
They'll smash heads with sledgehammers. There's a scene where she and her friend are undercover for her first mission when she is out on her own, out in the world. And they go into this bathhouse with these two men, and it all goes wrong, and it ends up with this woman getting, just a spike stabbed through her neck, and then it gets pulled out, and the amount of blood that spills out. When she hacks people in their face, blood geysers fly up in her face. I love, though, that that's another thing, too, is this action is not kind. Some movies you can see Polo. This movie, they smash heads. This is a smash head movie. This is an arm loss movie. This is a Joker cheek slash, Joker smile movie. And I dig that about the violence in this.
Very much. And like you said, I appreciate when I watch a movie that is very action heavy. And, some action movies, when they get to those scenes that are really brutal, right before they do the actual brutalization, they'll cut away and they'll show the person's face as they do it, and they're like, "Arr!" Whereas in these Korean movies, they will just show, like you said, homeboy's head gets smashed, you see it, and you see the blood splatter on the daughter's face, and then she has a fit. So I appreciate that sometimes because it's needed to kind of put you in the same space as the main character, right?
Yes.
When you're able to be in that same space mentally and say, "Ooh, these mofos need to die right now because they just killed this little girl's daughter," I appreciate that. Give me that a little bit more when it's, especially in a revenge movie. Don't give me a revenge movie where Pearson gets, or somebody's family member gets killed or whatever, but you don't see it and you don't understand the motivation for that person to do what they're doing. You see this girl, you understand her motivation, and as she's going through the training, you see her pushing herself more harder than anybody else around her, right? Mm-hmm. So that reinforces in you wow, her motivation is serious. She's really going there. So I appreciate it when action movies will take that step to really immerse you into the movie to such a degree where you can feel, I see a cattail.
Yeah.
Where you can, be on that same page as the main character.
My cat Ghost has joined us for this. Ghost is a big fan of the Villainess, so he wanted to be part of this podcast, this episode. But also, too, man, the movie's called The Villainess, so you should have villainess violence.
Yes, you should. You should definitely have villainous violence.
I do like, too, how they establish her as the ultimate badass. There's a scene where she's in her training, their second round of training, and it's basically her and this other woman who are the 1 and 2. But the gap between the 1 and 2 is almost like the gap between Christian Bale and Taye Diggs in Equilibrium. It's just a light years away. So she's light years better than all these people in this training program with her. And she should be, because she's already been trained to be assassin. But she's going to get into this wood sword fight with this woman. And this woman tries to conquer from in the back of the head with a wooden sword, which would really hurt. Very much will hurt. She moves her arm behind her head, and the thing just stops on her wrist. And so you're like, whoa, this, I'd be screaming. Both you and I would be running around the room, holding our wrists, crying, you'd be rolling on the ground.
Yeah.
I'd be too. I'd just be screaming about my wrist. She just blocks it and then just levels.
And then manages to put old girl in her place and say, "Try me again, bitch." That's basically what she was like. "Try me again, bitch. I got you. I got something for you."
Mm-hmm. And then
you want candid camera.
It's kind of an interesting journey, too. This guy said that he wanted to take a woman who was really nice and turn her into the villainess. But do you get that vibe from this? Because as a child, she was brought up to be a killer. And then she becomes a murderer. And then she kind of has, I guess for me is, did they make her a little too soft in the middle? Because her whole life was murdering people. And then she becomes this very domesticated, sweeping music. Did you think they did that a little bit too much in this? Or do you think that's just like we talked about, the Korean melodrama?
Well, I think that's a good question. I don't think they did too much, because if we're looking at her character's arc, right? When she finds out she's pregnant, that creates a shift in her head at that point where she's,
I need something different.
Now it's not just me anymore. So I can understand why they did that, and especially to kind of normalize the child's life. Coming from where she came from, it makes sense. It makes sense for her to become a little bit more domesticated and to kind of lose that killer instinct, that she had in the beginning.
Give her daughter what she never had.
Exactly. So then when she's forced to kind of come back out of it, you see that kind of killer reemerge. So I feel like it fits, it works because of that device of her becoming pregnant, and then her kind of realizing like, all right, I'm in this situation, I got, and in order for me to get out of this situation, I'm just gonna do what I need to do, and you see that after she's in that the training program, you see her go from a point of like trying to escape, get the hell out of there, like a wild dog.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And then she goes from that to like understanding, all right, this is my position, this is my role, and there's nothing I can do at this point, and I'm pregnant. So I think it makes sense in the case of the narrative and keeping that narrative going. She started out in a world of crime. She ends up in another world of crime, but then she's pregnant at the same time. So
yeah. Now the shift makes sense, and that's a good point. I kind of forgot about that adorable little baby girl who's just adorable in this movie. So I kind of forgot about that shift. It makes a lot more sense now, I would say.
And I think too that shift is what makes her even more deadlier, as the movie progresses, because now she has something to die for and protect at this point. So I think ultimately that's what makes her the villainess, is because she went from being, in this world of just, drugs and crime to being thrust in this kind of secret society of crime or assassination, to having a child and saying, you know what, I have a kid now. I can't live for just me anymore. I have to live for myself and my child. And then that kind of sets her on that path to where then once that's threatened, she has to come back and reemerge as this dark villainess to take out the people who are trying to play her, basically.
I love that she gets the suit and everything to become the villainess. I dig it. And one thing I like, too, is normally it's the shadow agency that becomes the evil being. So they wanted her to kill her husband. They didn't know this. She didn't kill her husband because she thought he was dead. And then her husband, they meet later, because he does some CSI work after she doesn't kill him. He kind of tells her that the agency is bad and he's the good guy. But I love that the agency isn't real. The agency's bad. They're a shadow group of assassins. But the husband is the main antagonist in this movie. They wanted to kill him because he's a bad man. She didn't do it. And then she kind of thought, oh, it's the agency who's evil. But it was the husband. So the husband kind of played her. So I thought that was a fun play on, normally it's the big shadow agency that's evil. Like, I'm going to come get you later. Yeah. But then it just turns out to be her husband's the main, or ex-husband's the main asshole in this, the main antagonist. So that was a fun spin. I really didn't see it going that direction.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, too, again, that's what makes the movie so good. It's like all the twists and turns that you just don't see coming. For me, there's nothing worse when I watch a movie, and within the first 10 minutes of the movie, I already have the plot figured out, and I know what's about to happen. That did not happen in this movie at one point for me, because every time you thought you had it, something else different happened. And you're like, oh, wait. Oh, shit. That's why.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there was a lot of that in this movie, and I really am appreciative of that, because I don't feel like there's enough of that in newer, modern, more recent action movies, as it were.
No, absolutely. So, is there anything else you want to kind of talk about before we get out of here? Any final thoughts about the villainess that you want to get out? Any other things in this movie you want to chat about?
Yeah, I mean, definitely, like I said before, if you haven't seen it, give it a shot. And South Korean action movies in general, just like they are some of the best action movies out there. They have really high production value, production quality. Some of the best action you will see in cinema. Revenger is another good example of a movie. I don't know if it's still on Netflix, but it was on Netflix.
The Man from Nowhere?
And The Man from Nowhere is another great one. There's a lot of good, Korean action
The Good,
movies.
The Bad, and the Weird?
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Give them a shot. Check out The Villainess. It's a really dope movie with a really dope plot and really dope action. And I keep saying dope because it's really dope.
Dope's a good movie, too.
Dope. Oh, Dope is such a good movie. Talk about good movie, man. That was such a great movie.
You missed an opportunity. You just said Dope is so good. I thought you were going to say Dope is so dope.
Oh, Dope is so dope. Oh, my gosh. It's such a dope-ass movie.
I tried to John Stockton assist Karl Malone there, but...
I missed it. I'm sorry. I'm
NBA
sorry.
NBA Jam, that was my team.
You're on fire. You were on fire.
Now, also, too, man, is reading about this, she trained for 8 months. And so she said that she trained for 3 hours a day. and this place without air conditioning, which I love. And whenever you see her face, she did 90% of her stunts. And you can feel that in this, and I dig it. And like you said, this is just a unique action film. It's different. It warrants the hype, I believe, because it's different and it's well thought out. So yeah, I mean, I'm happy you recommended this to me, and I'm happy we recorded this episode.
Oh, no problem. You know, I'm all about it, and like I said, I love a good action movie. And anytime I find something good, I want to share it to the world. I want to make sure everybody knows how good the thing is that I saw, so they can feel the same way I felt when I watched it. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, dude, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me again. It's always a pleasure. I appreciate it. And let's do this again.
We're doing Long Kiss Goodnight next.
Yes. Wait,
Yeah.
Yes, Queen, yes. No, let's definitely do
Long Kiss Goodnight, Juseyo.
Long Kiss Goodnight, Juseyo. 감사합니다.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, and for Kiyon, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.
Peace.